let me tell you a story here. Now don't cry. It's a love story about a cowboy gone bad. It's called uh, Lucky Star. Lucky Star robbed a bank in Laredo, and he had to ride real fast for Mexico. Justice trailed him close behind until he made it just across the line. He wandered from Mexican town to little Pueblo, but nowhere seemed to fit his cowboy clothes, until one day he just happened to find a little senorita of a special kind. She had two brothers named Jose and Miguel, but they didn't take to Lucky all that well. And one day Lucky said to Juanita Marie, you know, you could live in Texas with a cowboy like me. Well, that black-eyed beauty packed up in the night and I headed north with the first daylight. As I got to that old Rio Grande, somehow Lucky knew he'd not be leaving Mexico. Now the bullets hot, they started to fly, and the first one caught him deep in the thigh. He sent two shots back to Jose and Miguel, but the one in his heart kicked the lid off hell. Now it's told that Juanita Marie washed away those wounds with the tears she shed over a cowboy's tomb. And deep in Chihuahua, under grains of sand, lies the soul of that cowboy, lost in a foreign land. Yes, sir. Lucky Star robbed a bank down in Laredo. Now he lies real still down in Mexico. You know, robbing and stealing, you know, that's not the cowboy way. Justice will dog you and make you pay. Thank you. Crying yet? Crying yet? No? Good golly, you guys are hard.
I bet the 5 white crows will make them cry.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Let me try a little, while we're doing this, I want to get a couple of my poems down.
Okay.
Now, if you ain't crying yet, you're going to be crying now, you know, because I used to be a cowboy. Rode the open range. Now I just sit by the fire and some say behave a little strange. I used to be a cowboy in the days of old, back when all the cows were longhorns and the range was just full of buffalo. But I can still tell you a tale or two if that'd be your desire, so pull on up here close to my fire and I'll tell you boys what you want to hear. But sadness it will inspire. You see, his name was Jack Straw, and he was as tough as nails, and we'd ridden a many mile together up that old goodnight loving trail. You know, I never thought Jack could die. He was like a god to me. But rivers make mortal men of earthly gods, and you know, it teaches them humility. And such was the case on the Pecos that day, with the herd stretched back for miles and a dark storm playing out its plan, far from the river banks that appeared so mild. Now the Texas drovers, with no danger on their mind, moved their charges onto the muddy banks and whistled up the line. But around the bend came so suddenly the river's anger for all to see. She screeched and howled her warning loud, but for cowboys caught halfway home, it was their turn to be cowed. Now 2 were caught in the roaring surf, and 1 died speedily, interned in the quicksand's turf. Old Jack tried to save that struggling lad, but in the end he could only turn his back to the river's mighty hand. Yeah. And that's the way it happened in those days, and mostly unexpectedly. But that was the life of the trailing cowboy, back when the buffalo roamed free. Oh, tears. I've lost my touch.
I got a tear for you.
All right. Thank you. Let me do one more, because while I'm on a roll, I'll get this on tape, and then I can play with it. Again, it's tearjerker. I just write a lot of tearjerker. Huh? You want me we be quiet? Okay. All right. What makes these waddy boys think their friend is of a different kind? This pale and lifeless kid cowboy waiting for a box of pine. I'll tell you something for sure. They're all the same to me. Strip away the boots and leggings and big hog legs. All I see is misery. But still, they make believe there's something different about the way he died. Bloody holes. Bullet holes and bloody clothes. I guess we better try that again. You're damn sure not going to cry at that. Let me try it again. If you get bored, you can go mow the yard. Well, I got one for you. These kids, you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but back in the trailing days, most of the drovers, the cowpunchers, were just kids. Back in the 1880s and 90s. They were just kids. Many of them were 14 and younger. And they'd hit these cattle towns on the way up the Chisholm Trail to Abilene, and many of them were very green. And a lot of them lost their virginity and even some their lives in those rough and tumble cowboy towns. So some of them were tragic, and I wrote a poem to make you cry. What makes these boys think their friend is of a different kind? Yeah, this lifeless cowboy waiting for a box of pine. I'll tell you something for sure, they're all the same to me. Strip away the boots and the leggings and the big hog legs, and all I see is misery. But still, they make believe there's something different about the way he died. Bullet holes and bloody clothes and revenge on their mind. But I tell you something, an undertaker knows for true, they should never take time to lament. For just as they say grace for one, another comes along to take his place on the cooling slab. And how can you screw up a poem twice that you wrote? What a damn deal that is. I'll try it later.
Take 3.
I like this poem, so I'm going to make you sit there. You will be crying before I finish. Well, let's do this. I'm glad I got an editing machine.
I want the unedited version.
All right, here we go. This is serious. Now quit laughing. You know, they tell you when you're trying to perform, don't take yourself to learn to talk first. But
I want the unedited version.
But don't take your life too seriously or your trade too seriously, because this is what happens to you. But here's a poem. The story, Little Billy. What makes these waddy boys think their friend is I can't do this now. Let's try something else. I rode a line in the open rain when cow punching was not slow. We pushed along, Lord, to one side and the other the buffalo. I went up the trail in the 80s, hard times I have stood. We drank the water from the cow tracks, boys, when you bet it tasted good. I've seen a many a stampede too. I've watched the going on. Watch the going on. Need an F in there. I'll try it later. We got one of them. Hit the stop.
You got some good stuff on there.
Yeah, it's kind of keepsake. Back there, there's a button in the back. Just punch it and it'll turn off.